diplomatic notes. There are going to be times when you're going to want to negotiate with other delegates and continue negotiating with other delegates, even though you're in formal session. Formal session, hopefully at this point you know the difference. If you're looking at this video, hopefully you know the difference between formal session and informal session. In formal session, what happens is delegates are called up to speak or recognized by the chair in some form or another, and they either stand up. If you're in the Security Council, you may just stand up to speak, or if you're in some sort of specialized committee, you may just stand up and speak where you're at, or if you're in a moderated caucus, you may just stand up and speak. Or other times you'll walk up in front of the committee and actually address the committee from the front of the committee. In either case, anytime you're recognized by the chair to go ahead and speak, you are by definition in formal session. That means so either the chair is recognizing you because your name is on the speakers list, or the chair is recognizing you because you're in what's called a moderated caucus. A moderated caucus is one where what happens is the chair will go ahead and ask delegates who wishes to speak. You go ahead and raise your placard. When you raise your placard, the chair looks around, picks somebody, and that person usually just stands up and speaks for whatever amount of time they're allowed to speak, and then they sit back down, and the chair asks if other people would like to speak, and other people raise their placards. But in each case, anytime a chair is recognizing you to speak, and that's when you have the opportunity to speak, you're in formal session. When you are in formal session, you cannot go ahead and be talking or negotiating with other delegates. You can't get up and walk around and be talking to other people while delegates are speaking. But there are times when you do want to continue negotiating. So if you're the delegate from Mexico and you're having a very interesting and productive conversation with the delegate from Spain, you may want to continue that discussion. Or if you have a new idea, once you sat back down, you had a new idea that you wanted to communicate with Spain, or if you wanted to go ahead and strategize with Spain, then you might go ahead and think, now's a good time to go ahead and send a diplomatic note. Now first, one of the things to remember is that the way that we speak at a Model United Nations conference also affects the way we communicate in diplomatic notes. You should know by now, and if you don't, then pay very close attention. You should not refer to yourself as I or me. You should not be using personal pronouns when you're speaking. And this is true whether you're in formal session or in informal session. You are no longer you anymore. You are your country. When you get up to speak, and if you're representing if you're representing Mexico, you would say Mexico believes this. You wouldn't say I believe this, right? Mexico believes this. If you were if you agreed with something that the delegate from Spain said previously in a speech, and you wanted to respond, and you were recognized by the chair to speak, you would say Mexico would like to compliment Spain on their comments regarding whatever the topic is. There's no me, there's no you. You are your country. You refer to yourself as your country, and you refer to others as their country as well. But let's assume that you want to go ahead and you want to continue the discussion with Spain, and you want to continue negotiating, but you're in formal session and you can't actually go ahead and just walk over and say, hey, Spain, here's what's going on. So what you would do is you would take a piece of paper, and it can be a small piece of paper, fold it in half, and on the outside you would write to, and then a colon, Republic of Spain, from, colon, and then the name of your country. Now, whatever you want to communicate, you can put on the inside of that note. Now, here's some general rules that I want you to go by. First, don't send undiplomatic notes. If you're pissed off at Spain, don't write to Spain and on the inside write, I think you're a dick, right? That's not cool. Don't do that. You can't be undiplomatic, either outwardly when you're speaking or even when you're sending personal notes like that. Those are unacceptable. So here's the general rule you should follow. When you're writing a note, you should be asking yourself, how would you feel if your faculty advisor saw the note? If you wouldn't mind me walking over and reading your note, then you can send it. But if you're worried about me seeing your note, that's probably a bad idea. Don't send it. Now, and then oftentimes what will happen is if you leave room on your note, then Spain will go ahead and send it right back to you with a response to your question. And you can actually get a lot accomplished during formal speeches. There are a lot of times where a lot of negotiation takes place during formal speeches, and you should be productive. You should use that time. Now, periodically, you're going to want to go ahead and communicate with the chair. It shouldn't happen very often, so you should go ahead and be very mindful. You don't want to send notes to the chair on a regular basis because the chair is busy doing other things. Here's one instance where you can definitely send a note to the chair, and you should send a note to the chair. Let's say they've done roll call. Roll call has been taken, and you got there late. You shouldn't be there late, so if you got there late, you already screwed up. That's okay, no big deal, but don't let it happen again. But what you need to do is you need to go ahead and notify the chair that you're present, and that you're in the room. And you also need to notify them of your voting status. You need to indicate whether you're voting or you're present and voting. Now, different schools do this differently, but here at College of the Canyons, we never say present and voting. When you say present and voting, you basically give up the right to abstain on any vote. And there's really no reason to give up that right from the outset. So you always just want to declare your voting status as present, right? Not present and voting, just present. So in a case like that, what you would do is you would write a note, take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and write to, and then honorable chair, from, and then the name of your country, and then on the inside you say, name of your country is present, and just send that up to the chair. Now, in some conferences they have, in some committees they have what are called pages. Pages are usually part of the staff, sometimes younger people, who what they do is they walk around and they volunteer, like we have them at our conferences, where they just go ahead and they take, all you have to do is hold up your note, and they'll walk by, pick it up, look and see who it's supposed to go to, and then deliver it to the chair. In some cases, you may just be able to pass a note up to the chair, or if you come in late, it's not a bad idea to walk up and very discreetly walk up to the table and just set your note down on the table quietly and walk away. Don't do it in a way that's going to interfere with anything. Certainly don't walk up in front of a delegate when a delegate is speaking. Try and do it in a way that's going to go ahead and be unobtrusive, and not obstructive in any way whatsoever. It might not be a bad idea to wait until the first unmoderated caucus or suspension of the meeting and then go ahead and do it. The other thing that you want to do is you want to send a note to the dais or to the chair anytime you want to be on the speakers list. Now, again, if you're watching this, hopefully you already know what the speakers list is. But each time you go ahead and you're on the speakers list and you're recognized to speak, you are immediately taken off the speakers list, right? So if you're the first name listed on the speakers list, Mexico, you're representing Mexico. As soon as you start speaking, the dais, somebody on the dais, either the chair or the rapporteur, is going to delete your name. They're going to delete your name and you will no longer be on the speakers list. This is what you need to do every single time. Every single time. When you're recognized to speak and you know your name is going to be taken off the speakers list, you should already have written out a note that says, to Honorable Chair, from the name of your country, please add the name of your country, right? You don't write please add me because you're not using personal pronouns. Please add the name of your country to the speakers list. And here's what I want you to do. If you're recognized to speak, you grab that note. You might even want to pre-write those notes and have 10 of them with you when you show up at the conference. So when you get up to speak, you walk up. When you get up to the front, you just lay the note on the speaker's desk and then you start to address the delegates. Now, why do we have you do it before you start speaking? But when you get up to speak in front of delegates, sometimes your juices get going. It's kind of exciting, adrenaline is rushing, you're worrying a little bit about what you're going to say. It can be kind of a adrenaline-filled moment. And then, especially if you do a good speech and you're all excited about the fact that you've done a good job, and especially you do a good job on the speech, and you see your faculty advisor standing in the back of the room, you're like, nailed it, and you're all excited, it's very easy to go ahead and just walk back to your seat, just like, oh man, that was awesome, right? And walk back. Now, you don't walk back pumping your fist in the air. That's not diplomatic. You walk back proudly. You walk back with your shoulders back, chest out, very proudly and calmly, very diplomatically, and sit back down, right? Sometimes if you go ahead and you wait until the end of the speech, you get so excited, your adrenaline gets rushing, that you go ahead and forget. So one of the ways to prepare yourself for your your speech is to walk up, calmly hand them a note saying, please add me to the speakers list. Then you walk over and you begin to address the delegates. What they'll do is they'll take your note and put you at the bottom of the speakers list. This way, you are always on the speakers list. One of the first things that I do, and most faculty advisors do, when we walk into a committee room, is we look to see which of our delegates are on the speakers list. I want my delegates to be on the speakers list all the time. And so therefore, it's a good idea to drop the note off before you start speaking. Now, diplomatic notes, as you can see on the document, can be used for a variety of reasons. I will let you read those over and not elaborate because they're pretty much self-explanatory. Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to use diplomatic notes to get in the last word in a dispute, right? You don't want to go ahead and if somebody makes a terrible speech, right, that was a terrible speech, or man, you must be embarrassed, or anything like that at all. No immature or undiplomatic language. Certainly don't write anything that is in any way sexually suggestive, even as a joke, right? If there's a guy or there's a woman who's in the committee that you happen to think is very attractive, don't write anything about that. Don't write, you should smile more often, or anything like that at all. Leave all that stuff behind. You're not looking at a person, you're looking at a country. And don't go ahead and propose that delegates engage in behavior that are prohibited by College of the Canyons or your college, right? None of that. That's the general rule. Don't do anything, don't write anything that you would have trouble with me or your faculty advisor seeing. That's the way it works. Diplomatic notes can be very useful. Now, one final note. As much as I might not like this, I've had some very excellent delegates tell me that they will periodically send little pictures of like cats and stuff to people. A little like sort of smiley faces or things like that. Personally, I would like you to avoid that. Personally, I don't think that's professional. But some of my delegates have done that where it'll be someone they know. It'll be somebody that they feel like they've established some sort of relationship with, and maybe it's just a smiley face, or maybe a cat or something like that. Again, I personally would discourage it, but I know that some delegates have done it, and they say that it's effective. Again, I will let you use your best judgment. Just be very careful. Anytime you do anything that can be remotely interpreted as undiplomatic. The last thing you want to do in a diplomatic note is to make someone uncomfortable. And so, diplomatic notes. And don't forget to read the section on what they can be used for. This is critically important. That's all on diplomatic notes.